everyone. Good morning and happy November 20th. It's a Friday. And this is the Nadex morning analysis. My name is Todd Rich. I've got Brian Caprice with me. Before we jump into the analysis, I do have to put up this slide that trading does indeed involve risk, and that any trading decisions you make are solely at your own responsibility. And this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything that Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We're doing this for your education purposes. So yeah, it was we're in a little bit of a news-driven market, and hasn't been a lot of news. Very quiet overnight. Not a lot going on in the markets, but we would like to identify potentially a couple of hotspots that you might want to look at or track. Maybe markets that you don't necessarily always take a look at. I would like to say this is the last day of the Nadex Trading Challenge. So for those of you who have joined us for that trading challenge, and there were thousands, we hope you enjoyed it. And if you're not aware of what we were doing, we did a demo trading challenge this week. It has cash prizes. It will end today. If you missed it, please pay attention to what's going on over at Nadex. We are going to be doing these with much more frequency, and it's a great way for you to practice trading in the markets in a demo environment with Nadex products and potentially win some pretty significant cash prizes. All right, with that, Brian, what would you like to go through first today?
Sure. Yeah, I think we should just at this point recap oil. It seems like oil. We've been talking about it every day this week, and it's one of the things that has been moving in the overnight. You can see that it's definitely cruising a bit here. So let's go over to the chart. So earlier this week, we kind of bracketed this area off. We talked about pullback levels. We've mentioned fibs all week. So it's been one of those things that's been, for the most part, it's been. Oops, sorry, I got all kinds of buttons popping up. It's been kind of bracketed. It's been kind of sideways. We've talked about knockouts on tops and bottoms at 42.25, 41.25 at the bottom side. Yesterday, we're sitting right here, right now, and again, you can see massive movement right now in the overnight, coming from really the 42.25 all the way down to the 41.70. So I mean, about 50 cents move in the last 3 hours, 2 hours. We're sitting here right now, and yesterday we were sitting approximately right in this level here, right? Let's see, wait, where is it? 14, we go back, and 14 is sitting right here. All right. And we mentioned this level being a pretty decent level. We saw buyers step in. It came right in into the 61.8. And you can see we took a bounce. We came all the way back down to the 38.2. So again, decent move across two levels. Came back up, touched the level again, touched the level again. And again, it's managed to kind of put sellers in a few different times. And you guys have heard my rule. 4 times is the kind of limit. Most times break at 3, 4 is the magic number. And then again, it gave us the push through, the retest back to that level, and the punch higher back up for 42. So at this point, the trade setup is already a little bit gone, but we've been kind of following back and forth. With this massive movement pushing down today, I think if we have a negative day in the overall indices, again, lowering demand, talking about more closures, things like that, again, I think that the story for the oil kind of bulls today will run out, and we will kind of push back down. It's important to note this 42.25 and the 41.25 as well. Going into next week, both of those can be great levels with an open on Sunday. Right now, we're kind of running out of time. If you look at the knockouts, we only have about 6 hours left. With the European market closing in a few hours, again, a lot of the traders are kind of exiting that market. So it's something to keep an eye on. It's kind of in the middle of the range right now. And again, this is why it's important to basically log in each day and kind of check out levels because, again, there's our level. It took a couple hours later, but we ended up bouncing that level, going to where we talked about. And vice versa, the tops and bottom this week have been, again, you can see it. It's been basically a channeling kind of market. And again, as we progress further, I don't know what your state looks like. I do know my state, again, had higher COVID numbers yet again, and they're talking about adding additional restrictions. Our governor said he's canceled Thanksgiving, that do not travel. Again, the less people traveling, the more people doing things by themselves and not going anywhere. Again, it's going directly back into this oil inventory story. In regards to that as well, just kind of upping. We talked yesterday about natural gas. Okay, we talked about that forecast of 22 being big, but you're able to see here that natural gas actually came in at 31. Right, 31 is quite a large miss. It should have been really bad. Right, it's a red number, way too much surplus. That price should have went down, and we saw the exact opposite. Yesterday, if you attended yesterday's session, we talked about basically putting in a bottom. And again, buyers were going to be willing to step in. Here's a big red negative number, and again, what did natural gas do? Natural gas actually popped higher. So I don't know. Let me see if I can get it up here real quick. We did it yesterday. NG natural gas futures. Maybe the current contract. There we go. This is back down to the 30 minutes. You can see it's kind of an overnight rally as well. There we go.
Yeah, it found that bottom, didn't the buyer? We said, man, it was in a harsh downtrend. Said somewhere buyers are going to step in. Hey, they stepped in.
Yeah, I mean, this is where we presented yesterday morning, right here at these candles. So when I said it, somebody was listening. I know, there's a few big wigs that are the oil barons out there. I guess there was a natural baron listening to our Nadex presentation. But when I said the buyers are going to step in, I didn't necessarily mean right exactly at that moment. But you guys can see we were presenting, if you look at the bottom, you can see 1,400. There's 1,400 right here. So when we finished up, that was literally the bottom of the day. And it's funny how that works off. Again, oil inventory report was negative. Extra surplus, yep, magically the market went higher. It just goes back to show you that a lot of times reading the chart, not reading your gut feeling or that crystal ball, is really what you have to follow.
Right, definitely. Yeah, and that nat gas, it was down at this level 6 months ago. It it went through the roof, and then what goes up must come down. So there it was.
Yeah, I mean you can see it's been a free fall for natural gas.
Yeah. Being as much as there hasn't been a whole lot else going on in the market, why don't we cover one other thing this morning, and then we'll call it a week for everyone. Why don't we do something? Yeah, S&P. That's perfect.
I was going to say, let's go over the indices. That's about the only other thing right now that is looking super sexy. I will say, the CAD news, we also mentioned the CAD news and how important retail sales was. If you guys didn't see the retail sales number for the CAD and look at the resulting dollar CAD movement, it's down about 45 over in the last 24 hours. But the S&P is one that they're kind of the same story. When you look at NQ, you can see NQ is very, very high in the curve, starting the rollover on the hourly. You're seeing the Dow do the same thing, running into kind of a 30-minute level here. Again, middle of the curve. It came off that low level we talked about yesterday, the 29,246, and again, really pushed down and kind of rally back. Now I'm kind of looking for that reversal of that same level. But the S&P is kind of set up in I would say probably the best case scenario right now. Again, pushed up, bounced off a level we mentioned yesterday on the 30-minute. You can see there's actually two levels in here, right? There's the gap that we mentioned, and again, 1, 2, 3 broke through, came back and retested and dropped yesterday. We actually just bounced off of that level, so it's one of those ones. It's starting to move a little bit. I'm hoping we can get a little bit of a pullback. If you guys can hear the birds like this one.
Clearly.
And yeah, they're all about the S&P today. I don't know, we're interested in oil, but the S&P they're interested in. But I'm kind of looking for a retrace today. So, I mean, on a technical level, looking at what this has bounced off of, seeing that the other two indices are kind of in the same situation. Again, NQ is also high, but I feel like, the S&P is kind of on that same channeling, also has kind of the what I'm looking for inside of shorts. All
right, well,
could the open rally, could there be an opening rally? Sure, there absolutely could, but I'd be looking for some traps. And like I said, I think the fear of COVID and additional lockdowns is really what's going to continue to drive this market to the downside.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. As more news comes out, as people start digesting what's going on, pandemic seems to be the news that people are definitely tracking in terms of the healthy economy. Let me look at the S&P. We're going to go ahead and jump over to the Nadex platform, do a little show and tell. People who are looking to potentially try to look for some opportunities over at Nadex with some of that S&P. Here are those levels that you were talking about, just above 3580. We can see that indeed it was, some support earlier. You saw that it did break through, and it's testing up, and it becomes that resistance level here. You've seen a resistance again as it's come off of it, but something to look at with that, of just around 3580. And I know that you had this level down below as the support. So it's something just, right around the 35.45 level. And if someone wanted to look at opportunities in that market, here, let me go ahead and slide this out of the way. And there are some Nadex knockouts that could be compelling, depending
on
what
got really close. But that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to tell anyone exactly what to look at, but they can certainly click around and and take a look at where the risk reward is in some of these knockouts. If you're not familiar with knockouts, if it touches the level, you're knocked out of the trade. But your maximum loss and maximum profit are known beforehand, and you can also always get out of your trade early. There are some knockouts around here that could be of interest. The other thing I thought we might take a look at, because while we're talking about those, is let's take a look at the call spreads in the S&P. Here we go. There's the daily call spreads. I'm just going to bring up the chart, and let's move this out of the way. And look, I mean, there's some ranges in the call spreads that are just that they're kind of around where you're identifying some potential opportunity. So again, people can click around in here and try to determine if there was a call spread that might be interesting. Call spread's very similar to knockouts, except that there's optionality in it, meaning if you hit one of your levels, you're actually not knocked out of the trade. You still have time to be right, but there's going to be a little bit of a premium in the contract.
Right. And remember, don't forget too, I said it last week and we saw it. Don't forget, there's a thing called, or a phenomenon called Feel Good Friday. A lot of times we see on Friday afternoons, there's some type of a rally that pops. Just kind of going into the weekend with something positive. Hopefully, we'll see if we get that. But again, there could be a potential option for that as well. Again, play that later in the day. You can typically find that, down in the smaller duration binaries. Tend to be pretty good there.
Definitely something. I like that feel good Friday concept. Listen, if you're interested in contacting Nadex, you can reach out to us. Customer service at nadex.com. We're here to help you. Please follow us on social media. I would highly recommend our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Brian and I are doing this at 8 o'clock Central, 9 a.m. Eastern every day. If you got any questions for Brian, want to reach out to him, have questions for him, support at keeptradingsimple.com. And with that, I hope everyone stays safe and sane in these markets, safe and sane with with everything else that's going on with the pandemic. And we'll be back on Monday. Be safe and good luck in the markets.